question the audience always wants to hear, and I think it's probably one of the best questions for us to acknowledge, and that is, looking back on some of the projects that you've done, what was the one mistake that you made that you look back and go, we probably learned the most from that, of anything that we did?
I'll jump in right now. I'm sure in real estate, we all have that face, right? We go, oh yeah, oh, we remember that problem. Yeah. I'd say it was being too focused on the numbers. And then I think it was John said it this morning, right? And then you fall in love with the idea of what it could be. And you forget to go, do I even know this neighborhood? Would I hang out here? Or do I expect too much from this place? And then you start throwing everything out the window and you just go, well, I just need it. I have to have it. And so finding yourself on the wrong side of those numbers very quickly after that is the problem. Yeah, I've definitely bought some portfolios in some places that I just didn't know, and it was too far from home. So there you go.
I get it.
I'll add to that. I urge you to fall in love. Don't fall in love with a deal. Take your rational mind. I mean, everyone's done it in here, I'm sure. You buy the deal, or you're the lead on the deal, and you get it, and maybe it starts going sideways. Well, irrationally, you want to show everyone that's a good deal. Cut bait and run, and if you have to sell, and re-look at that every 45 days, I'd say. Just don't fall in love with the deal. It's not fall in love with your wife or your husband.
I thought John's comment this morning, everybody's got the cutest baby. That was a great line. That was a great line. Y'all realize there's 4 personalities sitting in the room, okay? Best thing that we ever did with Keller Williams, we hired a guy that came in and he said, y'all don't know anything about franchising. And we didn't. Gary and I didn't know that. He said, I'm going to teach you the models and systems that you have to use to build a franchise. And number one model, Joe, is how do you go hire talented people? And the first thing you learn of those 4 personalities sitting in this room, 2 of them shouldn't do anything in terms of evaluating product. Because guess what? They're hard people. It's just like you said, what? I gotta have this. It's downtown Nashville. We're gonna look awesome on the building. Nothing to do with it. I learned hanging out with my partner, Gary, says something, the path is in the math. In other words, get the numbers out and look at the numbers. If the numbers work, that's first stage. But if you get those emotional people inside your organization trying to do the analytical stuff, it doesn't work very well. So I get that. So Erwin, what from a mistake perspective, what'd you learn most?
Well, some of it comes from structuring the financing. We had a 2.5 million square foot multi-state, multi-city portfolio. I had Staples and 650,000 feet in one building, and they were a holdover tenant. And once, and if we thought about it, if we took their rent out, we still would have had a debt service. We would have made the debt service requirement under the loan, but because we didn't think about it enough, once Staples moved out, we had a cash flow jail until we leased up the space again, which we eventually did, but it took, 12 months to do that. So we trapped our cash. And the other thing is, I remember, you never know how long you're going to have to hold an asset. So we've learned that to take debt for longer than we're projecting to hold a deal, because you don't know where it's going to be 5 or 7 years from now, and you don't want to have to worry about a capital markets event and refinancing in a down market if your debt's maturing.
Good point. Good point. Now, Jack, you look so young. I don't know if I can even ask you that question, but give it a shot.
I've seen a lot. Yeah, so over the last 6 years, we've been very lucky. We haven't taken a loss in any property that we've invested in, but that doesn't say that there haven't been hiccups or, things we've had to work out. It just so happens that the first couple deals that we actually did in our first fund are the ones that had some workouts. And since then, we've got a lot smarter. But in those first few deals, you learn a lot. And right now, we're actually going through, which, knock on wood, it's supposed to close this week. But, we had a $15 million loan, a senior position on a industrial property in Nevada with about $35 million of add-ins on top of that after us. Right. So when we underwrite properties, we only look at the non-cannabis value. So
all the, tenant improvements that go into the HVAC or the security, the lighting, anything else, we don't take any of that into account. So we thought the property would be worth about $18 to $20 million. So, fast forward to today, this loan was about 4 years ago. The tenant ended up going bankrupt. We had to put the property in receivership. And for the past year, we've been trying to figure that whole situation out. Got an offer, then we've gone back and forth with them. There are certain things we could have done better. There are certain things we could have done ourselves instead of giving out to other people. But at the end of the day, we're still going to end up making an 8 or 9%, IRR on the deal. And that's going to be, probably one of our worst. So we are very lucky in that sense, and that's because the team is very stringent in the way that they underwrite these properties. Right? The family's been doing, real estate investing now for 60 years in a lot of different areas, and that they just brought that over to this one. So, really being careful, and I think what makes our fund a little bit different also is, the family is about 27% of the LP capital. Right? So you don't usually see a principal with that much actually skin in the game. So the family is very focused on not losing their own money as much as they're focused on not losing anybody else's money.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. What do you think, Matt?
I played the big game for the last 25 years. We're a small community lender, friends and family money. We raise money from time to time. We own every deal. But if I could tell you, it hasn't fallen on our investor, but it's that deal you do, and there's one I have in mind. It's the drama, the deal you take on that you have to live with, the amount of time it takes on your bottom line, which is your time, is you learn about the kind of deals you want to do. So,
which is to say, it's a way you're saying of getting your expertise.
Yes.
Be an expert in a particular class.
Yeah. In other words, take account the drama that you might be taking on. It may not be the loan to value or the risk to the investor, but how much drama am I taking on as a manager?
Yeah, that's right. And keep in mind, for the crowd, real estate, every real estate deal is different. It's a bit like painting a Mozart painting every time you go into a specific project. So if you can stay with a specific asset class that you get to know, you mitigate a lot of the risk that you might have otherwise, because you're not having to learn a lot of new stuff every single time. So tell us, Christ, what you think.
I think relying too much on other people, a specific instance, for example, our firm, we're not developers, we partner with developers, and one of our development partners was not transparent, but not telling the full truth to a very large institutional LP. They had broken some covenants with due to the environment. And when the LP found out, they were upset, and we actually took over that deal, and we went to the lender, went to the LP equity provider, and really just were transparent with them. We delivered the bad news faster than the good news. And what we've learned is there's really not much that can't get worked out. And in general, lenders, partners want to see things work out. And they're willing to work with you, especially if it's to a detriment not of our own. If it's an environment that we couldn't avoid a situation, generally people want to be good partners. And frankly, I think how people react in those situations are really more meaningful to your reputation than your success stories.
Yeah, good point, good point. Renton, what do you think?
So we're developers, and developers like to develop, burn, and turn, and keep going on the next one. As we grow, we're starting to keep more assets under management. So this goes back to kind of in all of our prior lives of just watching an asset on autopilot, I say, of, oh, money's coming in, I'll just collect rent, don't really want to watch it. So what we're implementing into our pro formas on these new dev deals and our existing deals is it's a $5,000 expense. One of my good friends is over at CBRE, and once a quarter, we dump all the financials on him and go over each asset, and he says, from a third-party view, you guys should have done this, or you should have done this. Because once you have that deal, it's your baby, and sometimes you get blinded to bad things that are happening, and you pull the wool over your own eyes. So we're on the camp of more eyes on it are better, and it's such a minimal cost on a $10, $20 million asset. I honestly don't know why more groups aren't doing something like that. Maybe they are, but...
You mean like the government can be just functioning along and it becomes dysfunctional until somebody wakes up and says, wait a minute, we're sending Social Security checks to dead people.
that makes too much sense, Joe.
If you're a founder raising capital, developing real estate, or you're an investor, would love for you to get involved in the Family Office Club. I've run this community for 18 years now. We've hosted 300 live events. We have 17 million social media group members and followers. We have the #1 YouTube channel on family offices. We have the #1 most popular podcast on family offices. You can learn more about us and our membership options at familyoffices.com. We have 30 in-person events planned in 2026 and another dozen events this year. Please go to familyoffices.com to learn more.